I'm here today with Matt Brice. He's the founder of Federal Hospitality Group. How you doing today, Matt?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm excited. I love that piece right behind you. Where's that from?
So this is a friend of mine and obviously extremely talented artist, Taft McWhorter. He's awesome. He paints the Texas flags, American flags. He's just so awesome. I have a few of these throughout the restaurants.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, let's start with you then, Matt. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become the founder of the Federal Hospitality Group? What's kind of your journey to get there?
Lots of hard work, a lot of blessings, and a lot of support from my family. Been in the business since I was 12 years old. Dishwashing, didn't come from much money. Had a great family and all that stuff. Great upbringing, but at the same time, really had to get at it. And then the passion for it came in a few years into it. I wasn't so keen on washing dishes, but at the same time, the company I worked for, Lucky Strike, actually, in the Dugree family, the most amazing family, taught me about people. And I saw the way that they treated everybody. It was this community, a small place, but just everybody came in for them. And it was just the most amazing thing to see. So I really learned that from them and saw how they treated everybody. And, it just created such a fun place to work. So I really fell in love with it. And then I worked for Brinker International, long history. Brinker International Chili's, used to be a quality assurance manager, opened up a bunch of restaurants for them, learned a lot of the systems there. So that was huge, really systematics, numbers, all that stuff. And then Ruth Chris Steakhouse, I was a general manager in my 20s, 26, 27 in New York City, and learned really about how to develop relationships with the executives, and that kind of stuff. And each step had a little bit different in terms of learning, right, from each step of life. And then I had the opportunity to work for another guy out of Milwaukee, had 8 restaurants, all this stuff. Long story, we tried to open a restaurant together. It didn't go so well. We didn't get it open. Went and ran his restaurants out in Milwaukee for a little while until we found another location. And so had to close to, open to, sell to, all the stuff that I've never done. So you see all this information, that I've, learned throughout the years. It's been pretty incredible that I chose the right jobs, to get me to where I am today. And that is, found a location down in Houston, fell in love with Houston. We opened it up together. I stayed for about a year, but then I wanted to do something on my own. And so therefore I kind of went on my own. I had somebody that entrusted me very much, gave me some money to open up a restaurant, and pretty much the rest is history.
Awesome. Well, tell me about your restaurants. You got 4 open right now. Is that right?
We do. We have 4 open around the surrounding Houston area. Woodlands, Katy. The one in Hedwig Village and Shepherd, right by Memorial Park. And then we're opening one in Arizona. So we're in the middle of construction right now. So we're really, really excited about that. So that'll be a Scottsdale, Arizona, probably November, December opening. And then lastly, another exciting piece is we just signed what's called a letter of intent for a downtown Houston location. So another exciting piece. Hopefully get it open by April or May.
That is awesome. So you're growing by leaps and bounds. Tell me a little bit about the actual restaurants themselves. What can people expect when they go there?
Hopefully a great time. So we work on the experience mostly. Everything's made from scratch. All the food is made from scratch. The number one sellers are cheeseburger egg rolls. Everybody loves those. They're so delicious. So they got a little kung pao sauce, a little spicy ranch. So really awesome. And then we have 400 to 500 whiskeys, or a whiskey bar as well, an old fashioned bar. We do smoking gun old fashions, flaming old fashions, lighting it on fire, a barrel aged old fashioned that we barrel age over time. So it has that taste profile we're looking for. So it's a lot of fun. We play a lot of fun music, upbeat, TVs everywhere. So it's a nice place you can come watch a game if you want, or if you're at prom, or if you're in a business meeting. So it's a nice mix of everything in terms of, I call it fine casual. So it's not fine dining, but it's definitely not casual. So it's kind of right there in the middle, and it makes it a lot of fun. So it's American cuisine all the way. And again, even our dressings, everything's made from scratch.
Awesome. So how did you zero in on the concept here? Because you could have gone, with your background, you could have gone any number of ways. How did you zero in on this?
So I've been in the steakhouse business for a while, and I always love, whenever I go out, I tend to just go to steakhouses. I just love the atmosphere. But I also knew there was a need. I loved going to Houston's as well, or Hillstone, whatever you want to call it these days. So there's a little bit of both. And I liked what they had going on because they weren't quite the steakhouse, right? And they weren't, casual either. So I kind of wanted to look at a mix and figure that out. But I got to tell you, for the first 2 years, it was a big struggle. I didn't even know what the concept was. I was going into it. We were a higher end menu at the time. We had steaks and everything a la carte. And I knew we were going in the wrong direction. And that's a long story, but at the same time, that first year and a half, we had to figure out who we were. We weren't making any money. It was a really trying time. So that's, but then we figured it out.
There you go.
And we had meetings with, well, long story short, Johnny Caraba helped us out. We met with him. So he's a good friend and mentor. And my wife called him up and we were struggling. And we said, Johnny, do you have time for us? Can we come see you? He goes, be here in 30 minutes. We went up, we're up in his office. It's the three of us. I tell this story a lot because it was the game changer. It was our tipping point for us. Mm-hmm. Johnny shared a lot with us and he shares it publicly. So I know I say it as well, but he had just opened Grace's and we had opened our first, our federal, and we just weren't doing it. We're trying to figure out what we're doing wrong. And he said the same thing about Grace's at first. He's like, I don't know what we're doing wrong. And so we were just honest with each other. And he said to Matt, he said to me, well, listen, what music are you playing? Well, we were playing Frank Sinatra, right? Nobody wants to listen to Frank Sinatra. I know it's boring. Okay, I love Frank. Okay, with all due respect. Maybe in my office. And then he just threw it out there and just said, take an honest look, right? So we had 10 people come back to dinner with us the following night. We sat in the middle of the dining room and it was boring. It was boring. There were no TVs, no energy, all that stuff. So long story short, he did the same thing and went to our regulars and said, hey, what would you like to see on the menu? What's good? What's not good? I know you've had a lot. We just listened. And then we adapted and changed. And we just saw this thing shoot up over time. And that was a real blessing and a change in our life. And that's where Federal really became what it is, probably by year 2.
That's awesome. So, you changed the menu, you changed kind of what you had going on with the vibe of the restaurant. It has to be a little bit more than that though, right? I mean, like you had to have done something with the team to get them to shift or get them to change or buy in, ingrain yourself in the community. What did you change from a cultural perspective that allowed you to be able to make that shift and then make it successful?
Well, I think we always had the culture. We always had people that wanted to work hard, and we met every guest that was walking in. We just didn't have the right recipe. And so we've always focused. Personally, I cooked every day for 7 years of that business. So up until 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I was cooking every day, blood, sweat, and tears, making that happen with a great crew and all that stuff. So we didn't lose many people whatsoever, and we always took care of each other. And that's the biggest thing in our culture is, really just helping each other, knowing, where servers live. If they live 45 minutes away, I would call them first and say, hey, I think it's going to be a little slow tonight. Do you want tonight off? Before they drive in, right? These are little things that add huge culture and turnover, right? That we care about each other. So give them the opportunity. So those little things helped us greatly, of course, because we always put people first and take care of each other.
There you go. So you put people first. So, I mean, you're cooking until 7 years, you're cooking for 7 years, you've gone through the blood, sweat, and tears of this. I got to ask, what drives you? What's the why behind you pushing for all this?
Sure. It's a great question. One that I love to answer. We do this, because we want to improve the lives of everybody we touch, right? And that's our culture and our company. And that's who I personally believe I've always been. And I've always wanted to take care of people. I've always wanted to buy my parents a home, right? I've always did this, for bigger things than myself. And I think that everybody that's working with us kind of sees that, and they also want it too. Like people are surrounded by like people, right? And so I think our culture has just been so strong because we actually talk about it. And I think that more companies need to talk about it. I'm not saying we're the best, but we're trying to be, and I think we will be. But we have to work at it each and every day, and we have to say, okay, be honest with each other as a leadership team. When you're talking about, you've been in the business, when you're talking to your general managers, when you're talking to your front house managers, kitchen managers, whoever it is, hey, what did you do today to impact somebody in a positive way? Give me an example. You got to talk about these things because that keeps it in the forefront of your mind. That's why we do this. This is why we read books and podcasts. They all kind of say the same thing, right? They just say it in a different way. It's pretty awesome. So what happens is you end up just doing it because of the fact that you just read it again, right? So it's really awesome. So, improving the lives of everybody. And I think if you just stay the course and you continuously do that, the rest will come. The money's the money. You got to have it. It's always, you can do so much more with it, but you're not going to get there by chasing the money. You're going to get there by taking care of people.
So, let's kind of dig into that then, right? So improve the lives of everyone you touch. How are you making that happen with your team on a regular basis?
Well, we always have meetings, talks about what can we do. I'll give you a for instance, is we had a gentleman, his name's Caesar, has been working with us for years in the kitchen. And Caesar works at 2 restaurants. So at 2 of our locations, one in the morning, one at night, hardworking guy. And he burnt his whole side. This is months and months ago, probably 7 or 8 months ago. And he was out for a long time. And there's only so much coverage, that he's going to get by unemployment and that kind of stuff. And so what we did was we also went around and said, let's raise some money for him. So the team all got together, all the servers threw in some money. And I said, whatever that money is, federal will match it. And so we raised about $4,000 to give to him. That was pretty awesome. He got to pay his rent, his car, all this stuff. So that's just one thing. That's where you see everybody come together. It's huge, absolutely huge. That's only one example. We've done that, I don't know how many times. And now we're coming up with an account, if you will, and have a board that oversees it, where you can donate $1 to $5 out of your paycheck, every paycheck, and it goes into an emergency fund. And so if something like this happens again, then we can allot some money to somebody. So these are just little things, right? There's so many other examples, but at the same time, this is what it's about. And when people work at a place like this, they see it and they feel it. And I think that just goes such a long way.
That's awesome. So I mean, you're definitely digging in, and you're improving the lives of your team. It sounds like, you touched on education there a little bit ago. What if we play this forward to, the guests, your community? What kind of things are you doing to improve the lives of the people who are coming to your restaurants, the people who are taking care of you from an infrastructure perspective? What does that look like in your community?
Well, again, 10 million examples. I'll start with one that we did that we became nationally known for. You might have seen is we reopened during COVID. And so we were the first business to open. We got all this news about it. It wasn't for the news. This is a great example of employees are calling me. We're closed, right? Everybody's closed throughout the world, and they can't pay rent and they can't buy food and pay their bills, right? These guys from the kitchen and front of house, all this stuff. And I'm sitting there saying, well, gosh, what is it? What's the end all here? Well, my wife and I met and we really talked about this, woke up one morning and we both said, we just got to do something. And so when we did that, when we reopened, we had all this plan to reopen. Obviously the news caught it, and it's a funny story actually, how it all came together. But it wasn't for the news really. It was because of the fact that when you're in a position of power, and I got to figure out a different way to say it, because I don't say that I'm in power, but I own the restaurant, right? If you owned it or somebody else owned it, nobody was doing anything for anybody, right? I get it. You got to be safe. And if you don't want to come out, don't come out. That was the whole message. But we're going to be here for you. And, hopefully we can improve your life by reopening back up and giving you some, just some, I don't know, idea that this world's going to be coming back, and give some hope to you, and have an outlet for you to come and visit. So that was just one example that I think we got huge following because of that. And our employees saw it, and we never lost an employee during COVID, not one.
Wow.
No, not at all. So I think that's just another story. How do we affect that? Well, what had happened is because of that, our sales ended up going pretty high even during COVID. I will be honest and tell you that 2020, although it was one of the worst years of many people's lives, was business-wise our best year of our life. And it's just crazy. But what happened is then we were able to give to Camp Hope, which is a big deal. So we're big, donators, or trying to donate as much as possible to our veterans with PTSD. We send weekly to each area of our villages and surrounding Katy and Woodlands, meals to all the police officers as much as possible. So we're very involved with all the police officers. Love those guys, men and women. And so it just allows us to give back to the community as well, local schools and all that. So we are very involved, and we're just so blessed because of all that we're able to give back.
I think that's amazing. So, not only are you improving the lives of your team, whether it's individually or as a group, but it doesn't just stop there. I mean, you're extending it to your community, the veteran community, the first responder community. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. What is it about this that ties you to this? Why? I guess for lack of a better or stuttering term here, why this? Why?
Why this? Why?
Why this? Why? Yeah.
Well, because I knew there was more. I think it's okay to say, hey, what's next? And to keep moving forward. And I didn't grow up this way. And I look at where I grew up, best friends in the world, people that I grew up with, but it's not really a fancy neighborhood at all. You know what I mean? But and just by knowing that if you treat people the way you want to be treated, that I believe that it will come around. The energy is real. I'm not really big into that, but I know it's there, And if you have a plan, you can't just, okay, I'm going to treat people with respect and expect, bigger things. You need to go after it. You got to dig in. You got to work hard. I've always worked hard. I've always missed Christmases. I've missed Thanksgivings, everything, because I've always said, all right, I'm going all in. There's a sacrifice, right? There's a sacrifice. But man, I got to tell you, when you do get there, and to me, I don't think I'll ever be there, but at the position we're in right now, it's just when you see it all come together and you see that you can impact people the way that we're doing it, it's pretty awesome. And I just wish more people would see it and go after it.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. So like, how are you imparting that on your general managers, right? On your next level leaders, on the line level? How is this permeating your organization?
Well, so we run a very structured company, right? And I actually have the book here. I don't make any money off this book. I'm just talking to you about it right now. It's called Traction by Gino Wickman. All right. Okay. Awesome book. I'm telling you, it'll change everybody's life. I learned from Gino himself in 2007 when he wrote it. I was very fortunate to be in front of him. He sold and he writes all these other books, and he's trained Southwest Airlines, all these big dogs. It is so structured well about your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals. It talks about how you're going to get there. The little to-dos, everything you do every day will get you to these goals. So there's also another big part of our culture, which then gets to all the GMs, because everybody at the restaurant levels are all doing the same meetings and following the same structure as we are. And the first thing that you bring to these meetings is what you learned for that week. Okay, so it's a big deal. All right, so it's all right. What podcasts are you watching, or what books are you reading, or what have you learned from somebody this week? All right, so you got to start off with that. And really, when you're doing that share, everybody's just that part of the meeting. Everybody's eyes are just glued on who's ever talking, because that's our culture. Everybody really wants to know and learn what you're doing. It's awesome. The other part of this, though, every single night we do recaps, so email recaps to the company. And the main thing that I'm looking for in the recap, because I can't be at each restaurant every night, so it allows us all to communicate and hear what's going on, is another big part of our culture, is what we call the wow factor. And that's what I look for, is what wow factor did you do? Basically improve the life of somebody. So the wow factor could be, hey, this guy came in and wanted key lime pie. We don't make key lime pie. This was a real, for instance, by the way. And it was a woman, not a man. And we do it for her every time she comes in, by the way. So he runs out, goes down to another restaurant, gets their key lime pie, puts it on our plate, and they know it's not ours, but
right.
Just that little factor of just going on your way, to make people so happy. And we have so many instances where we've done these things. Somebody wanted Burger King once. No kidding. We weren't messing around. They were kind of joking. We went and got a Burger King, put it on the plate, so it's fun, right? It's hospitality, but the wow factors are great. Or there's a lot of wow factors where it's for the employees. Like so-and-so is a birthday today. So we all chipped in and bought them, whatever it was, like a gift. And then we had a cake and happy birthday. All these little things create the biggest culture, and they mean a lot. And if you're not focusing on that, the money is money, right? I'll say this all the time. Not about the money. You do this and the rest will come. And the same goes servers, turnover, kitchen, everybody, so it's a lot of fun. So those wow factors are a huge part of our culture.
Well, that's incredible. I mean, it's one thing to have bulletin board material, right? And I think that a lot of people have bulletin board material. But what I loved about everything you just went through, the last 15 minutes of what you just went through was, this is what we do. This is how we bring it to life. This is how we make it happen. And here are the examples of how has worked. So I think that's absolutely phenomenal. So if you're going back, and anybody who's listening to this, if you've got bulletin board material and there's nothing behind it, it's not really worth much. It's
No,
got
I
to be
mean,
something behind it.
you nailed it, because so many times you walk into any restaurant, you just see words on the wall, but nobody's talking about it, right? And that's where they end. And then you end up walking by, and I know you know what I'm talking about, and you don't even know it's there. I could quiz somebody, way back when, and say, hey, by the way, what did the board say? It's been hanging there for 2 months. And they'd be like, what do you mean? There's a board there? So you're right. You really got to make it part of, you got to talk about it. You got to live it.
You and I were talking about Simon Sinek before this. And I think he's got a great story where he said he worked for a company, or he consulted with a company, and they had the culture, or the values printed everywhere, and they had it on the wall in front of the line in the kitchen, and when they went and asked people about the values and what they are, there's only one group of people who could tell them what the values were, and it was the cooks, because they're staring at them all day long. Everybody else just walked right by them, right? So it's always funny. So I mean, you've given a ton of great advice here, a roadmap, and even some great action steps here for people wanting to get started. I hate to ask you for a little bit more, but I always love to ask, if you've got any advice for new leaders coming into the hospitality industry. Is there anything that you're sharing with your leaders as they're getting started?
Oh, for sure. When you say new leaders, that's a big one, right? So first off, easy one, lead by example, without a doubt, right? Lead by example, and do what you say you're going to do, and always follow up with everything that you say you're going to do. Otherwise, you will lose the respect of others, even if you don't mean it. Carry a pen, carry a paper, whatever your note-taking ability is, and always make those. The most successful people in this world do make their checklist at night, and then they double check it in the morning. And that way you're not missing anything, and then you prioritize those lists. So for leaders, that's a big one, because you can't keep it. If you're anything like me, trust me, I don't remember anything. So if I don't write it down, I'm in trouble. So everybody's got to have their system. But, at the end of the day, being a leader is really, you see all those posters and the posts on, social media, where you have the leader that's leading the way and everybody's following, and then you have the boss, right, the whip behind, and so it's so true, right? Because I've worked for those guys, and some of them I still really respect, but I look back and say, man, why did I work for that guy? So it's really a big deal, is to make sure that you're showing people and lead by example, and don't ask anybody to do that you wouldn't do yourself, right? And and then there's a lot more to that question, but really learning is the key. Watching people that are successful leaders is how you really learn. So find a mentor, find again, I say podcasts all the time. We have the world at our fingertips. The information's all right there. Find somebody that relates to you. There's a lot of guys out there. We keep talking about Simon Sinek. We keep talking. There's other people, Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, the Grant Cardone, right? He's a good example. So I don't know if you know who he is, but if you follow him, Grant's not for everybody. They may look at him and say, this guy's, I don't like the way he's talking. But then you find Simon Sinek, and then you found your mentor. You found that person you can kind of look up to and follow and listen to, and that just helps greatly.
Yeah, absolutely. That is phenomenal advice. I mean, being a lifelong learner, and then being able to take that and lead by example, and continuing to always follow up on what you say you're going to do. Make sure you're keeping track of everything. I mean, that's all paramount. I mean, I live by my Google Task on my phone. I mean, I'm throwing stuff in there like every 2 seconds throughout the course of the day, and that's everything. That's stuff I see. That's videos. That's podcasts. Anything I can share with anybody is always getting saved and always getting disseminated out to the team. That's absolutely awesome.
And we do that when you find a good podcast. What happens is we're on text threads, right? Information's right there. It's the way of the world, and so we will share our podcast all the time with the team.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so we'll send it to the general managers, we'll send it to the managers, to our office. And if you want to read it, if you want to watch it. I doubt there's anybody that hasn't watched it, because then we all end up talking about it. So it's really cool. Share the information. Share. We have an obligation, right? When you have information, in my mind, you have an obligation to share that. It'll make the world way better place. It makes your work life way better place. If it's only me that has it here, only you, it's not doing anybody good. Thank you for doing what you're doing right now, because this is exactly that. That is getting people to really understand and learn in different capacities from different people. So I appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate you coming on here. So, Matt, if people wanted to find out, connect with you, are you LinkedIn, Instagram? Where can they find you?
Yeah, all the above. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I'm getting better. All right. So I'm not showing my age right now, but I do like it though. I do. But I do have LinkedIn. So, Matt Brice, and we have Instagram, same. You can find me by finding Matt Brice, or if you follow Federal Grill, which I show up on all that as well. So Federal Grill, or Fed Grill, is our Instagram. The Federal Grill, excuse me, is our Instagram. So we do that, and I did my first TikTok the other day.
Really? Oh, I gotta ask how that went. How did that go?
I don't recommend looking at it, but it's one of those things where I had to do it, for myself, because here's another. This is big to listen to, only because it was taught to me. Is the most successful people and leaders stay out of their comfort zone. It's a huge comment right there if you really think about it. If you're comfortable, then get out of your comfort zone. So finally I said, all right, I gotta see this TikTok thing. I've been on it. My daughter's 11. She's teaching me more than anything. And so I decided to do one. I think I actually have two now. But I wanted to see and just get out of my comfort zone. So I'm trying to learn, when it comes to that. But we also have, like I said, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. That's full blown. So we have a great person that helps us with that too.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go look it up now. So that's gonna be the first thing I do when I walk out of here. Now I gotta see this.
Yeah, well, we're doing a great job. We hired Jenna Jackson, and she has her marketing firm, and she's a very good friend of ours too. And she gets us, and that's the biggest thing, is we work together. So I'll do a lot of content, and then she'll do a lot of content, and it's kind of fun, So she knows it better. I'm learning a lot from them. Need the help.
That's the best way to do it. You have an idea, you have the ability, and then find somebody who can multiply that for you, right? And that's exactly the way to make it happen. I love it. All right. Well, Matt, thank you very much today. This has been awesome. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to connecting with you again in the future.
Chris, really appreciate you having me on today. Really. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Best of luck to you and the rest of the team.
Thanks. You as well.
All right.
Take care.